Thank you all for tuning in. The following is a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. Yes, it is I, your humble host, Bill Hatch III, coming to you live from the palatial home studios of Bald Spots Productions here in the beautiful city of Malden, Missouri. Joining me from more than acceptable safe social distances are my guests for today. We have, wait a minute, Debbie didn't put down her last.
Debbie Bryan.
Debbie Bryan. Yes, I knew that. Debbie Bryan, coming from across the pond. And Joseph M. Lenard, not to be confused with the other Joseph Lenard, coming to us from Detroit. But I hope you all are doing well. I always start the program with the same question, and that is, who are you reading? So we'll go ladies first, and because I'm not afraid to be sexist that way. So Debbie, who are you reading these days?
Do you know what? I actually don't read business books. I only read like chick lit. So I think the last thing I read was Martina Cole. So a little bit of like grit and East End violence, basically. I listen to podcasts. If you want to like business stuff, I listen to podcasts, but reading for me is a pleasure. And so reading a business book is not a pleasure.
Okay. That's business. Well, that's fine. I don't read a lot of business books either. Even though I am writing a book on a series of books on leadership, but right now. So
that's for other people to read.
That's for other people to read.
Yeah.
Force them through it. So Joseph, how about you? What are you reading these days?
I'm currently between books because I'm waiting for someone to send me a review copy of their book who's going to be on my Constitutionalist Politics podcast show. So I'm kind of in between. I don't really remember what I read last. But it's kind of like the movies. I go to the movies all the time, and my sister asks, "What did you see lately?" And I'm like, yeah, I've seen like a handful, but don't remember any of the titles." I did see Planet of the Kingdom of the Apes like 5 times though, so I actually remember that one.
Well, that must have been a fun movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at movies. I fall asleep. I get into that dark coziness in the movie theater and I will sleep. It's quite embarrassing, so I don't go. Where I do watch movies, though, is I watch on a plane. I love a long haul flight. I will watch 3 movies, have a nap. That's a long haul flight to me. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I just saw somebody the other day also on TV, a celebrity, and that came up about, yeah, I don't remember. It was one of those behind the scenes of the movies. It was one of the stars of the movies. And the question is, what have you seen lately, or do you see? I think it might have been some of the cast of the Twisters that's coming out.
Okay.
The follow-up to the Twister movie, kind of a reboot. And yet one of the stars was saying, I don't go because indeed, like you, I get in the dark environment and I fall asleep. I'm forever missing the first 15 minutes of movies. So
no, I only see the first 15 minutes. I'll probably sleep for all the rest. I think it's because I don't eat in the movie. So when I go to the cinema, I'm not really a sweet tooth person. So I think the other people are staying awake because they're munching. they're scrabbling in that popcorn and making all the noise. They're eating the sweets. They're eating the other stuff. So I'm kind of like that. But I find, I do love movies. I'm not completely alien. But I do like save them for a plane. So when people say to me, "Oh my God, you've flown to Mexico for a week," and I'm like, 3 movies and a nap, that's a long haul flight. And the thing is, for me, I have like children and a house, and on a plane is like nothing else I should be doing. So it's pure luxury. The minute they put proper Wi-Fi on the planes, I'm like screwed, because I love it. I get on there. There's no shoulda. Shoulda be washing, shoulda be working, shoulda be calling these. No shouldas exist on a plane for me. They just are, have some wine, have some food, watch some movies. If you saw me and my husband on a plane, you would think that we don't know each other. We can spend 10 hours sat next to each other and not say a word, apart from I pass my food to him because there's things that he likes and I don't. And I pass the food and pass this and we sit and you would think we don't know each other because it's just bliss. It's just the bliss Nostra does.
It's a way away from all those outside, our daily routine kind of stuff. Yeah, I haven't been on a plane, however, since like 2006. And after the Wuhan hysteria garbage, I'm in no hurry to go back with all. Things got bad enough after 9/11, and now after the Wuhan hysteria, it's gotten even worse with the crew thinking they are the gods of the air, and fascistic dictators get to lord over you for the time you're there. So 2006 I was last in Vegas, last time I was on a plane.
Oh no, I love it. I feel like I've opened a wound for you though. I think I've brought something out here that we maybe need to talk about. But for me, I love flying. It's funny, my son, when he was he's in Australia now, he's 30 this year. And the very first time that he flew, he was under 2 and he was like quite a naughty child. He was always like bother. And when the plane took off, he just burst out laughing. Literally the adrenaline of that plane taking off just burst out into like a bunch of giggles. And I think I feel like that inside when I fly. So you
I do like flying. I like going places, I think, more than I like flying. But it's because now I've got a 3-hour drive to get to the airport. So
oh, that's
kind of
horrible.
Yeah.
3-hour drive for a 1-hour flight sometime, maybe, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So,
well, I don't know. Actually, obviously I'm in the UK, and I drove down to Cornwall, and it took me what should have been 3 hours. It took me 6 hours to get back from Cornwall. So it's like the end of the UK, and my friend was flying back from Dubai at the time, and it took her less time to get back from Dubai than it did for me to drive home. So.
Wow.
I know where I would rather be going.
Yeah. But okay. No, that's great. Where you talked about a 10-hour flight. Where was the last place you flew to, Debbie?
For me, actually, this is I like to travel a lot. So this year I've been grounded. So the last place I went to was Ontario, so Toronto, to do my TEDx. So I went on the 2nd of February and did a TEDx talk in Canada. Slightly strange story in that when it came through, it said it was Western New London, and I thought it was Western New London, UK. And then when they came back and said yes, I discovered that it was in Canada. But hey, a yes is a yes, right? So we had a trip to Canada in February, and it was warm.
Yeah, and I'm right across the river from Canada. I used to vacation north of Toronto, Aurelia, Ontario, Sparrow Lake. Aurelia is R.I.P. Gordon Lightfoot, drawing a blank there. Native son of Aurelia, Gordon Lightfoot. I used to vacation on a lake near there, north of Toronto, and spent a lot of time in Toronto. And being just across from the river, from Windsor River across, I used to spend a lot of time over there. But like flying, last time I went over to Canada was 2004, because again, all the border garbage. I'm not going to sit in line for an hour and a half for a 2-minute drive across the river to spend an hour, then spend another hour and a half crossing that doggone bridge again because of the backup due to customs and all that. It's like it's just not worth it anymore.
That's crazy. We were into Canada quite quick. The only thing we had was it was like -20, loads of snow the week before we went. So when we went, it was 5 degrees. It was warm. It just looked like the UK. I was expecting it to be all snowy and, like the pictures and stuff. And we went to Niagara and it snowed for like enough time to take a picture and then it was gone. after that. And then we got the bus, and like, you have all English names. It's so confusing. You know, we were going to Aldershot and London, and really it confused me a lot. So, but the TEDx was good. The TEDx was great.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I want to talk about the TEDx a bit. Now, Debbie, you are a leadership expert, and which is sorely needed, it seems, in Europe right now. But yeah,
Not sure they're gonna do
how did you get into the to doing a TEDx?
So I had a mentor that was in Canada that was telling us when there were TEDx coming through. I'd done a lot. So I spoke in New York last year. I spoke in Cambridge. I spoke in UK Cambridge, UK Oxford, New York, your guys. And I started just speaking and I did a podcast. So I had done this podcast and then invited on others. So I had massive visibility. And I think when TEDx are looking for you, they are looking to see what you're about. They're looking to see if you can speak, if you can string a sentence together. And so he sent this 3 TEDs through, and they were like Australia, Montana, Texas. And I'm not adverse to traveling, but they were all within 6 weeks. And it was just, I'd already been out to New York in the May. It's not going to work. And so I left it. And then this one came through for Western New London. And I said to myself, do you know what, Deb? It'll always be a damn no. If you don't fill the form in, it's just a no, like a guaranteed no. And I was just so lucky because that one TEDx was the one that I got a yes from. So I was like they call it one and done over here, but like it was one application and one. So of course, you know, the rumor is it's at least 100 applications. I've got a friend who's been trying for 4 years. So all day long, if they said yes to me, I was going to Canada. I was going to do the TED.
Yeah, I do. Bill knows me. I can never avoid the lame puns. I've never done a TEDx, but I've done a TED Y, as in the audience said, "Why did they book this guy?" But
I love that.
Yep.
I think I just had my story fitted their theme. So it was a rising phoenix, and I had a car accident 13 years ago where I should have been dead, saved my own life, then fell in the road and crawled across the road, saved my life again, and then was told, so I broke my leg very badly, couldn't walk for 6 months, and then learned to walk and overcame it, and then was told that I would be in a wheelchair at 55. And I was like, I argued with my surgeons the first time, I argued, and then I was like, do you know what, I have to fight for you guys again because that's not happening to me. I won't accept that that's the situation, that's my outcome. And then a few years later, so I changed my life a little bit because I was hairdressing, changed my life, and then did a bike ride in India 2 years ago, 370 kilometers, and wasn't really orchestrated, but actually I finished the bike ride and it was on the same year that I was 55, the year that I should have been in a wheelchair. So they just like that story, really, the whole I don't believe in the word no. And I don't. I just think no means you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I saw that in your intake form. Yeah, I like that. It means you're not asking. It means you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, it's just asking the wrong person. If you know there's a yes out there, right? I didn't with the surgeons. When the surgeon came to me and said, right, okay, we're going to operate, but you're not going to be able to use your leg, I was just in shock. I thought you broke your leg, 6 weeks in a cast, rude jokes on there, back to your life. That's what I thought happened. And I didn't know there's anything different. And so, and he said to me, right, okay, you know, we're going to operate, but you're not going to be able to use your leg. And I was like, what? You know, I have a hairdressing salon in a gym. I've got 3 children. I need to be able to use my leg. This is a rubbish conversation. And he said, oh, okay. And they just walked away from the bedside and then come back in the afternoon. I thought he's going to try and sell me that same stuff again. And he come back in the afternoon with a different solution, but it still was, you're not going to be able to stand on your leg. You're not going to be able to do this. And then came back again and said, right, okay, you can bend it a little bit, but you're still, and I'm like, I have a hairdressing salon. I have to pay my bills. I have to pay, you know, my stuff. I have staff. I have children. I have, you know, I just went to pick a car up. This can't be real. And then the 4th time they came back with a solution to take bone out of my hip, to rebuild the leg. I started talking about digging deep into bone marrow. And I was like, not a boiled egg. I'm squeamish now. Let's just do that. And then I wake up 2 days later with a cage on my leg, 2 plates, 22 screws. And I thought it was a bruise, you know. And so I was like, I had this mentality that I was super lucky because I felt like I should have been in the morgue and I wasn't. So therefore I was a very, very lucky person. I still have that. But I was, a maniac at that stage of how lucky I thought I was, to the point I think my children were going to anaesthetize me that year because I was so annoying. I was so like, oh, I shouldn't be here as Mother's Day. I shouldn't. So I had this mentality that, I should have been in the morgue and I was the luckiest person in the world. And they thought I was crazy in the hospital. They probably thought I was drugged out of my head. So that kind of fed into the TED Talk. I told that story as such. And then the wheelchair, and I'm like, just done one fight. Now I've got to fight again. And so I did. And I'm 57 in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm still not in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, you definitely weren't the person to say no.
No. That's my husband. He's just like, you're pig-headed and stubborn, but I just didn't want.
You've got to be. You've got to be your own advocate, especially under socialized medicine. Their first response is always going to be what is easiest and less expensive for them, not what's good for you as a patient.
Well, how scary is that, though? What if I just said yes to the first person? I literally would have a leg that is locked straight, because that's the outcome I've still got to come at the point when I can't, like, blag it or whatever, is that I would have this locked leg. I'd have had 13 years of not being able to, like, we drive, it's my right leg. I wouldn't be able to drive. I wouldn't be able to get in a car. I'd have this leg that was locked straight. As such. And as it was, I went back to my life and I was in a gym. And I don't know if you've ever worked in a gym, but they're fairly insular in a gym. So they've either been, like in my salon, they've either been to a class, were running a class, or skiving completely. Like, does that translate? They were hiding from a class. And if you ever went out with them, they would talk squat weights. They get drunk and talk squat weights and then start doing press ups. It's that type of environment when you're going out. And then I'm actually kind of walk for 6 months and I'm on crutches for 6 months and I can't do anything. It was a bit of an eye opener, but I survived.
Yeah, I have my knees are both bone on bone at this point, and
I'm one knee replacement and bone on bone in the leg that's injured. I'm bone on bone now, and I'm now fighting that to go. Just keep giving me the injections until this sticks in front of my number, and then I'll talk about it.
And it's just a question of what are you going to allow yourself to do, and what are you not going to allow yourself to do, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to keep walking, and I don't do it a whole lot because it hurts, but still, it's you can't let yourself give up, because that leads to the end.
That's why I did a bike ride, because a bike ride is more comfortable. So it's easier to ride a bike than it is to walk. Sometimes when I was in India, I think, could I cycle to the restaurant? Could I cycle to the dinner? Not actually get off the bike and walk. I'd be like, how about I just bring the bike to the table, because that was more comfortable than and it's still more comfortable than walking. If you look at my TED Talk, I've got gym shoes on. My son said, did you run to the university? And I was like, no, because I'm not going to put myself through the pain of wearing shoes. I'm going to wear comfort. So, that was my biggest loss as a woman, losing shoes. That was a big loss.
I was the kind that always used to wear almost the Gene Simmons Kiss-like boots. Yeah. But now I've got the nice comfortable with the Velcro. I don't want a zipper. I don't want a tie. Just the Velcro flaps. Just nice, comfortable shoes. Exactly.
We could shoe shop together.
Yeah, let's all get on a bike ride somewhere together. We'll meet in the middle.
Well, guys, like, you could really have dropped yourself in it, because next year I'm doing my final bike ride. I went to Surgeon Lusher and they told me that I was bone on bone. Scared me a little bit. Don't do spin, don't swim. I've decided to ignore that. So next year I'm going to do Vietnam to Cambodia. So you're really welcome to come with me.
Wow. Okay, that's going to be quite a ride.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
I think that's 460 kilometers. 460 kilometers, but it's flatter, apparently. Apparently it's flatter. More cycling, but it's a great company. What they do is do the rides, you come back and you're buzzing, and they go, hey, here's a free deposit for another one, and then you sign up for something else. So I actually signed up for Niagara to New York and the Vietnam, Cambodia. The Niagara to New York is a 4, and my one was a 3. So I'm like, let's cancel that one. On the map, it looks all downhill. but apparently it's not.
I've heard good things about Cambodia. A friend, the who used to be the minister of music at my old church, his brother retired to Cambodia. He liked it so much.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I got to meet him at the funeral. But yeah, so it sounds like it's a nice place. So maybe.
I hope so. I'm not going in those holes in the ground. I keep seeing pictures like where the holes in the ground where they just get in them, and that's not happening for me. I won't be going in
Yeah.
those. I probably won't be able to get out, to be honest. I'm like, how do you get out of those? I'm sure I can't.
Find out when you get there.
No, I am very claustrophobic. I'm not going in a hole in the ground just in case I can't escape.
But you're okay on planes, though.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really scared of unsupported heights. So if there was like a skyscraper and it had a glass wall, I couldn't stand without my stomach doing a flip, right? Bridges, I hate bridges. I go over bridges, they scare the life out of me. But I'm absolutely fine in a plane. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, 30,000 feet in a tube that could come crashing to Earth at any minute, you're okay with.
You're like my best friend. When I go on that, I've got a friend, and he goes, "This is not logical." He's an engineer, and he's like, "It's not logical. This shouldn't be able to happen." And he gives me that speech, and I'm like, "Be quiet. Let me buy you a drink."
Yeah,
Don't want to
yeah.
do that.
I'm that way with heights usually too. But indeed, you've got the tube is around you, and even though you can look out the window, it's somehow different. Because, like you said, you go to Chicago, the Sears Tower, and they've got that. Literally, they built out now glass
Yeah,
tubes. You can.
not that.
No, I can't even crawl onto that. It's an issue. I can be
Look
110.
at the Grand Canyon, and you see the Grand Canyon, you see that glass. I'm like, not happening, not going on that, not standing on that. And it's not funny. Like, it's not funny, right? But it's.
No.
I went to a place in Jamaica a couple of years ago, and they had this, and it's called Lover's Leap, right? And my friend had got married there, and it's very high up on the cliff, and it had this fence and some patio decking or whatever, and a little thing. And I saw a picture of it last week, and all that had blown away in Hurricane Beryl. And I was like, "See, I told you it wasn't safe. I told you that could happen."
Yeah, 110 stories up, looking outward at the landscape, no problem. The Renaissance Center in Detroit, 74 floors or whatever. The Summit Restaurant, no problem because I'm encased in the glass and it's fairly safe. But 1 year since I worked for the Westin Hotel back in the 80s, an engineer led us onto the roof to watch the fireworks that shoot up over the river. It's like,
What if you get blown over the edge?
yeah, there's
Well, the wind comes and you go blown over the edge.
people
No,
sitting
not
there
happening.
with their legs dangling over the edge, and I'm like, I can't even crawl to the
No,
edge because I
I
don't
wouldn't be able
have
to.
that safety bubble of the building structure. But even standing 10 feet away from the edge, but it's like the
I would be like
fireworks.
this.
They're
I'd literally
right.
be holding onto
They're
the
right
wall. It
there,
would be.
like you could touch them. They're all to hear them bursting in that open air right out there on the river is a whole different experience.
It's cool that you can go up into a really high building and then you sit. I think it's a picture, isn't it, where they're on the like a plinth, like a metal plinth, and it was like there's an old picture where everyone had their lunch, like the workers had the lunch. Must have been an Empire State building, and you now can go up and sit on this piece of metal like JCRSJ like thing, and then they put you up in a crane and you have lunch just over nowhere. And I'm like, I can't even look at the picture. I just
Yeah.
can't. That's why I've got a mosquito.
Now,
Cannot even look at the picture.
now
I'm just like, what?
like
Never.
in Las Vegas, the Stratosphere, that's like 110 stories too.
Yeah.
And I'm okay to strap into that roller coaster that goes
Really?
around the edge because I'm strapped into something secure to the building. But to just be at the roof and look over the edge, can't do it.
Google roller coasters and them falling apart. Don't get on those either. Don't never Google it. You'll ruin yourself. You'll never be able to get on that stratosphere thing ever again.
I used
No,
to belong to American Coaster Enthusiasts, ACE group. So I've been all over on a lot of different coasters. But yeah, I mean,
nice.
thankfully, never been stuck up there dangling on one of them.
I feel like I
No,
don't know
I
where
know.
we're going with this subject now.
Yeah, we've gone. Yeah, I was going to say that I do know what it is to have a true phobia. There was a number of years when I had to deal with pyrophobia after I was in an industrial fire, and it took a lot of work to get past it. But it was pretty debilitating there for a while because there were
Yeah.
Yeah, I
things I
mean, after
needed to
the
do.
accident, I wouldn't go on the roads. Like after my accident, I wouldn't. I never drove. I never went on the roads. I had such a fear. It took me a long time to get on the roads and not imagine everyone crashing into me.
I
It was
ne-
very.
Yeah, I never learned to swim because I don't know the official term. I call it aquaphobia. I doubt that's the actual term, but it's, if I say aquaphobia, everyone understands, right?
Yeah,
I cannot be in a body of water that can go over my head. For growing up, I had to take baths because I couldn't even handle a shower falling on my head. I got over that eventually, but I still never learned to swim. But when after I got married, we went to the Bahamas, and I was okay in scuba gear to go swimming, but
weird.
to just swim, no. But with an apparatus, a breathing apparatus, I was okay with the water over my head. But
I don't know. I think as a mindset coach and an NLP coach, I can have a field day with you. We need to sit down for a good couple of days with some nice wine and some cheese, and we'll sort everything out.
That NLP was how I got through the pyrophobia. Was Now I don't remember the process that it was called, but the one where you put it into like a little box and you spin it around
Yeah.
and yeah
I'm not good on
and
the NLP language. One of the reasons I don't practice NLP as a standalone
mm,
thing of what I do is I don't like the NLP language. I feel like it's kind of like an insider language. They start talking about submodalities
yeah
and all this sort of stuff. And actually just need to speak in a human language so that people can understand what you're talking about. And I always struggled
mhm,
with the language. I never struggled with the concepts, but I always struggled with the language too. And I told them all the way through when I was training, they're like, don't worry, you already do what you need to do. So you don't need to worry about the language. So at the moment, I teach people how to speak. And so the mindset of teaching people how to get on a stage and speak and that's as a result of the TED. I opened a speaker academy after that because people wanted to know how to do the same thing. Because I couldn't speak 2 years ago. I had no confidence. I was like, who's going to listen to Debbie from Swindon? You don't even know who that is. But I had nothing. I was just like very imposter syndrome. Everybody in the world was better than me. And I had to kind of like teach myself to go, you need to stop being a best kept secret, stop working behind people as a consultant, as a business consultant. You're always in there like a politician's wife, in the background doing all the good work, and someone else is taking the glory. And I had to just kind of go, it's time for you just to step out here, stop being a best kept secret, and like own yourself. And so probably the last 2 years I've been doing that. And the TED was the top of the top of the Christmas tree for me. It was like the peak of going, I can't even call myself a speaker before I did the TED. I did 50 podcasts last year, won awards, two best-selling co-author books, been on a TV show, and I still couldn't call myself a speaker. And after the TED, I was like, can I say I'm a speaker now? And I thought, oh my God, Deb, what are you waiting for? Like what? And that's an NLP person to herself. I was like, what else do you need to be able to quantify that you're a speaker? If the TED doesn't do it, then what the heck is going to do it? So we're our own worst enemies, aren't we? We can heal everybody else and can't heal ourselves.
yeah yeah I hear you on that. The imposter syndrome. I suffer from pretty bad imposter syndrome, and one of these days people are going to figure out that I'm not that I'm not what they think I am. But
My friend calls it something. What does she call it? It's a spotlight or something. It's like we all feel like everybody's watching her. So she's an influencer. So she's going into a restaurant, setting all her lights up, setting all her stuff up, and then eating her dinner and talking to the camera. And she's like, I feel such an idiot that everybody's watching me. And she said, one day I just sat back and done it and watched, and nobody was watching her, which is worse, I think, if you like attention. But she said nobody was watching me. And it's they call it a spotlight syndrome, where everyone thinks that they're the most important, but actually everyone's just giving a monkeys about themselves. They don't care about what you're doing. They might have looked and gone, oh, she don't have that, never mind, here's my dinner type thing.
Well,
So
I worry about those who have absolutely no hint of self-awareness or self-concern, no imposter syndrome whatsoever, that they feel they are indeed all that all the time and should be the center of attention all the time. Those are the people I'm much more concerned about, right?
are you talking about our mutual governments here? Are you talking about all the politicians?
Well, there's a whole lot of them in politics,
Yeah.
that fit that description. Yes.
To a T, actually. We won't talk about politics because it's like we're not talking about politics anymore.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Euros, about the football now over here.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but have you ever heard of the Dunst-Kruger effect? Which basically says they were out of Australia, but what they found was that the less a person knows about a subject, the more confident they are that they know enough about the subject. They don't know enough to know that they don't know what they're talking about. And the opposite is also true, that the more a person knows about a subject, the less confident they are. That's why the people with the worst imposter syndrome are the most qualified, is because they know enough to know they don't know everything. And and so
Yeah, that's
so yeah,
interesting.
so
Do
yeah.
you know what? That's so true, though. I do know people who are, and it's usually the people who are very much more detailed, people who need like stats and figures, that type of personality, rather than somebody who's a bit big picture. So someone's a bit big picture can go, I know enough to blag this or to like make them think that I know what I'm talking about. Whereas somebody who's very loves details, like buys a microwave and reads the manual before they plug it in, whereas I've already cooked a dinner. Those people will be the people that struggle with imposter syndrome. And it's not imposter syndrome, it's very much they don't like to be wrong. It actually pains people like that to be wrong. So they want all the information to be able to make a decision. And then if they make that decision, they have to be 100% that it's right, because they don't like to look stupid.
Yeah. Well,
So they look like they're procrastinating,
Yeah.
they look like they're not making a decision. But actually, it's like, I want social proof, I want the figures, I want to read the manual, and I want every single bit of information to weigh this up and make this decision. And then I want to be the expert. I want to be the person that everybody loves and is glorious because I'm the person who solves the problem. But they're terrified of actually going, do you know what? No, that's wrong. Really terrified of it.
Well,
And it paralyzes.
there's no such thing as perfect, and no one knows everything, even about one subject. We are all ignorant of things until we learn them. And there's a big difference, thankfully, between recognizing and understanding and having no problem with that term, ignorant until learned, versus stupid, who don't know they don't know, don't want to know, because they prefer a delusion.
Yeah, no, you're right there. I mean, I think I said something to somebody earlier on, I was like, that we all have to have growth, because if we have no growth, if there's nothing to learn and nothing to do, then we must be dead. Like, I mean, what's the point of being alive if we know everything already and this is it? And there's like, you already know everything. There's no adventure, there's no discovery, there's no let's go to another country and explore it, because I already know what's going to be like in another country because I've looked on Google and I can see on Google Earth. Then what's the point? What's the point of being here?
Yeah, I have a meme that I love to share, though, to poke fun at myself and others who have that air of, I know everything. It says, it's got laughing faces around it, and it says, I'm not a know-it-all, I just play one on the internet.
Well, I heard something that somebody said is like, if someone says to you, so like the worst type of guest, or probably like for you, Bill, on here, or when you're trying to teach something and they go, yeah, I know that. Your answer to that is, but are you doing it?
Right.
Yeah, oh, that's a whole other thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Actions and deeds versus rhetoric. And we've
Mhm.
got a lot of that in politics too. There are a whole lot of hot air and a whole next to nothing actual do a damn thing.
But even in just life, you're always going to, oh yeah, I know all that, I know all that, I know all that. You can't teach me, I know everything. It's like, okay, but are you doing it? Because honestly, that shuts people down so fast into going, well, no, I'm not doing it. So what's the point of knowing if you don't do it, right? That's a harsh thing for me to do. But sometimes you just have to pull that one out of the trick box.
For a lot of people, that's why they need coaches and guides and whatnot. Is because not because they don't know the thing, because somewhere in their brain they probably do. It's that they're not doing it. They're not actioning on it.
Yeah.
And that's what the coaches do is get you to actually move down the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's accountability, it's mindset. It's like, I hate the word mindset. I'm sure we all hate the word mindset, but it's very much like, what's your fear? What's the worst? Like we used to have a saying, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the
Right.
best that can happen? What's most likely to happen? And you can kind of like balance your fears out a little bit like that. But that takes someone else to say that to you until you
Yeah.
get used to asking that question yourself. If you get used to asking that question, but like, everyone in the world's got a coach. There's not a single person that you look in sport that doesn't have somebody that helps them to do what they're doing. That has got like a bit more experience with a different perspective, because they call it the third brain, don't they? So like your brain and my brain, like here we've got 4 brains. So we've got yours, mine, and then this extra one that's created out of this three. I want to say threesome, but that's wrong, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. But out of the 3 of us, we're creating another brain that's taking all these ideas and stuff and making another. So that's the beauty of having somebody on your side that wants to help you to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are happy to stumble through life and never think. Right?
Yeah, and there's horses for courses, really. It depends on what you're satisfied with, isn't it? I want a big life. I want everyone else to have a big life. I'm not satisfied with not having a big life. So I have to take the risks. I have to go out there and go take the big steps and take the big risks. I sometimes look at people who like have a job and they go home and they eat the same dinner on a Monday, same on a Tuesday. They go on holiday to the same place. They watch the same shows over it. And I crave to be them. I'm like, why can't I be normal like them? Why do I have this thing that makes me drive, that makes me have to go and do stupid things, or makes me just 2 days ago my friend said to me, are you coming on the super yacht next week? I booked a flight within half an hour. I don't know if there's any accommodation or anything. Like, most people would not do that. Super yacht, right?
Well, there's the old saying, ignorance is bliss, right? Like the Jim Carrey movie.
But some of those are just happy. They're literally happy with that life. It's enough.
Right.
It's enough for them. And I look and I go, I wish that was enough for me. I wish I didn't have this kind of burning thing that goes, maybe there's a little bit more. For entrepreneurs, top of the mountain is the bottom of the next one. And I wish sometimes that I could just go up on the mountain, sit there and have a cup of tea and go back down again. But just that's not how my brain works. And so if I did become this other person, and I'm not saying they're boring, I'm just saying they're very content with not having the challenges and not having the adrenaline. Maybe I'm just addicted to the dopamine hit. Yeah, maybe I haven't got that type of the rush.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I love that movie. There's so much great food for thought and fodder in that film, as opposed to his mindless, silly, dumb movies.
I don't know if I've seen that one. I say not a good movie person, but
I highly
I will put
highly
on
recommend
my
it.
flying list.
Next,
it can come on my flying list.
Right, put it on your flight list. Exactly. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Very cerebral movie. Very good, and kind of about what we're talking here. Those who are looking indeed to escape complications and just coast through life.
Yeah, but
as long as they're happy, then I couldn't be happy doing that. So I wish I was.
Nor could I.
But there is a place to be both content and ambitious, I think, in the same breath. Because there's being, there's being content and staying there, and and dwelling in that moment of happiness. And then there's, okay, great, I've achieved something, I'm happy about that, now what's next? And as opposed to being completely dissatisfied with everything in life, which would just be miserable.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people
think.
are afraid to do something because of failure. So I'm going to mention another movie, Star Trek V, which is all about that. Spock's long lost discovered stepbrother that we didn't know for 30 years shows up, right? And starts doing the Vulcan mind meld to remove people's bad memories. And like Kirk says, no, you can't take those. They are what made me me, right? Your successes and your failures are what make you you, and you have to learn from them, not just have them erased and forget them. They make you part of who you are today.
Totally agree. And they say that, don't they? They say, like, for most. Someone asked me the other day. Actually, I had a show down at a college in Truro in England, and somebody said to me, if you had not had your accident, if you could turn back times, then would you turn the time back? And I said, no, I would. I would not be stood here now. I would never have gone to India. And also, I suppose the question is, if you erase all those bad memories, will we not just do it again because we never learn?
Exactly. Yeah. Those who fail to learn or even remember history, it may not repeat, but as someone said, it sure as hell rhymes a lot if you don't learn from your mistakes and history. Yes.
God, I repeat my mistakes enough, and I can remember them. Let alone if I couldn't, that would just be terrible.
But it makes me think of back to the roller coaster again. If you take out all the ups and all the downs, then you're left with a train. And and while it might get you somewhere, it's not going to be fun.
Oh no, do you know what, Bill? I love that. I so love that because I think that's exactly it, isn't it? It's like, it's just a train. It's just you're going to have this flat, smooth journey with nothing to go, that was terrible and this is great. And so, I don't know. I think I live on dopamine hits all my life, actually. So, and then go, let's get this one. Let's be excited. Let's go on a super yacht at the whim, or let's it's for a good cause. The super yacht.
You avoid the complications, right, Bill? But I mean, it's the complications and those things that get us out of our box at times that make life so either really enjoyable. Yeah, there are some downtimes that, like, it would have been nice to avoid that. But again, all those ups and downs are what make life and living, not just existing.
And if you go into the spiritual world, I have a friend who's very spiritual, and she's like, sometimes things have to tumble down so that you can rebuild. So she'll be like, the tower has to come down in order for the good stuff to happen, for the next bit to happen. And it can't go, like, nothing can happen until that actually you go through that kind of process, really. I'm not particularly spiritual. She just tells me what I'm meant to believe, and then I just do it. That's how our relationship works. She told me all the colours that I should wear in India. So she's like, this day is a red day, this day is a yellow day. And I had this scrap of paper that I took with me that I'd put together. And the people that I'd gone with, some of them were like a little bit better equipped than I was. Let's say I'm very much an amateur in this world. And they had spreadsheets for like what outfit for what day and stuff like this. And they'd look at my little scrap of paper and start going, what colour are we wearing tomorrow? And they moved all their spreadsheets around so that they were wearing the right colour. I have no idea why we were wearing that colour for whatever planet or whatever it was. I just did as I was told, and I finished. So I was like, that's fine. I finished the ride, 370 kilometres, in 5 days.
Well, it's like
Crazy.
you said too about tearing down, right? Sometimes, right, you need to tear something down to build and achieve better. Since you mentioned spiritual, one of my favorite artists is Rick Springfield, and he's got a song, Prayer. I pray to God in heaven to be a better man than the man I see, right? Always wanting to achieve more and be better, recognizing there is no such thing as perfect. It's his version of Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, right? To want to always do and be and achieve better for not just self, but others.
That's powerful. And like, what would we, if we didn't do that then, would we not just be like babies? Just helpless, not learn anything. And if you was a baby and you don't learn anything, how many times has a baby got to fall down before they walk, right? They just carry on doing it because it's just the instinct. So if you're never going to go for any trauma, then we're just going to lay there forever. And then who looks after us? Maybe the AI robot's going to come and look after us. But, in general purpose, it's a whole different subject, I know. But then who looks after you? So, that's just nature. We have to do it. If you look at animals, they have to go through much more hardship than we do. And ours is mostly of our own choice. Like someone asked me once, and I'll ask you two guys the same question if I might. If you have to come back as an animal, I find this fascinating. What animal would you come back as? So I'm going to come back, and you're probably going to knock me down on this, because I've not done big research, but I was working somewhere, and this conversation was with some clients. So I'm come back as a flamingo, okay, because they look like they have a fairly good life. So I don't want to be hunted, and I don't want to be the hunter. So I don't have to run for my life or run to eat for my life. Either way, I want something a bit more sedentary. So you two, Will, what would you come back? Sorry, Bill, what would you come back as?
Oh wow. No, I really like your answer for it. Not wanting to be the hunter and not wanting to be the hunted either. I mean, my first knee jerk reaction would probably be something like a dog, like a pet dog.
But you might be a stray dog. You might come back as a wild dog or a stray dog.
No, right. I want to be the lion. Without question, I want to be atop the food chain.
But you have to hunt to live. You have to hunt to live all the time. I'm like, I want an easier time next time. I don't want to be a hunter. My friend said a sloth, because he's like, a sloth is harmless, and I can't beat him. And I call him Sloth, that's his nickname now. But I can't actually beat his logic, because he's like, they just do nothing.
Right. They do it very slowly.
There's that coasting through life choice again.
Yeah. He's ex-forces. I think he's done his bit in this life, but it's just such it's our pub conversation. If I go out for someone and I want to liven the conversation up, it never fails, because it is, you want to hunt or be hunted. So if you look at the animal world, they have a much harder life than us. They've got no supermarkets. They don't have a drive-through. They don't have Uber that's going to deliver it to their door. They actually go hunt, or they've got to run for their life. So we're not as traumatized as we think we are.
Maybe a koala. They don't they seem pretty laid back.
Well, W, you kind of now hint to, I've got a show, I'm looking at my calendar, that's going to drop July the 27th. I haven't even recorded it yet, on that self-sufficiency. No one on this planet is fully self-sufficient, right?
No.
I didn't build this home that's over my head. I don't hunt for the food that I get at the supermarket, right? No, a lot of people want to talk about self-sufficiency, but there's no such thing really in today's world.
That's my birthday, by the way. So you say happy birthday on your show for
okay.
birthday. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, we feel like, we're having a really hard time. People get depressed and people are, life's hard and that stuff. It's not hard. If you're an animal, it's much harder. Like you said, you've got shelter. Someone's built shelter. Someone gave you a job, so you've got money to go and buy it. You've got electric, you've got gas or oil or whatever it is you guys use over there. You've got a car. If you want to go 100 miles, you haven't got to run it on foot with a pack of wolves. You just get in the car or the train or the plane or the things all these easy things that we've got, right? So we've overcomplicated our world so much so that we don't realize how easy it is.
Yeah, and we are
I'm
all
talking to you from our basement private members club in the middle of London, and you guys are somewhere completely different.
Yeah,
I'm not even on the same time zone as you, and this is not difficult.
Right, we are all interdependent on each other, and unless if you're out there foraging for your own stuff, living open on the wild land, and building a shelter for yourself at night, you're self-sufficient, then maybe, but that's a pretty damn hard life.
Yeah, and if someone's being self-sufficient at this stage, right, that's a choice. That's a choice, because if they catch their leg in a trap, they're going to go to the hospital, yeah? They're not going to just sit there and try and sew their leg back on or do whatever they're going to do. Do you know what I mean? They're going to go and use all these commodities and an ambulance and a doctor and medication and all those things so they can live off the land. It's just I don't know how we should just be a little bit like, for me, I suppose that I had the whole gonna die. I actually had another accident when I was 7. We don't talk about that because it makes me look careless, but I should have died that time too. So I've had 2 like real near-death experiences, and I try to be as grateful for the fact that I'm still here as I can be, and not moan too much and not be ungrateful. But obviously I moan at my husband because that's a whole different thing. But I still try to go, do you know what? We're so flipping lucky. Even if we don't think we're lucky, we're so lucky that we have all this amazing stuff.
Yeah, we really do. And even the not so great things, we're pretty fortunate to have. Originally, this show, the format I had envisioned was to have a couple of people in my living room, and we'd be chatting over drinks, and then as Joseph puts it, the Wuhan hysteria set in, and nobody wanted to do that. And now I get people on the show from all over the world who couldn't possibly or wouldn't possibly come into my living room.
Right.
I've been at events today in London. I'm not even at home. I'm in somebody else's podcast studio who I brought someone to meet and was like, "Why are you talking to him? Can I use your studio?" So I'm in somebody else's studio. I'm in a private members club in London that isn't my private. So it's like I just made it happen because I was like, I said to you I was going to do it, and the dates messed up, so I made it happen. And you're sitting in Detroit, did you say? And you're it's just mad.
I'm in
You're in the state of You're in the state of misery.
Yeah.
I mean Missouri.
Yeah.
Sorry,
either or. It depends on the day.
Can't pass the lame poke fun at opportunity.
We've even got sunshine today. We've only had 3 days of summer so far, and they've all been separate to each other. So today is like a really sunny day. So I've probably got some sunburn on me, but like even that, oh my god, it's too hot. Like, just be grateful to have some sunshine. Last week it was raining. Last week we were like putting our heating on and stuff like that. We just have to be more positive. So be positive and just not always positive, honestly. In the mornings I'm a right grumpy person. But you still have to go, we're the luckiest people in all time. Who did I hear say the other day is that your great-grandparents were 50 years ago, the comedian Jimmy Carr, I don't know if you have him in the States. Yeah. So the comedian, he said, 50 years ago, nobody had ever had a hot shower. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody had ever had a hot shower 50 years ago.
Wow. That's hard it's hard to envision things like that. You know?
And now everybody goes all Wim Hof and they all want cold showers, just like mad. Because they have a choice. But yeah, no one had a hot shower 50 years ago. I was just like, mad. How did that work?
Well, longer than 50 years ago, but your point well taken.
Yeah. Well, before we get too much further, let's do everybody's plugs. Debbie, tell people what it is you do and how they can get in touch with you.
So there's 2 things that I do. One is I am a keynote speaker, so I can come to your event or to your conference and talk about motivation and some of the stuff that we talked about today that's less scary, but I don't do the animals. And also I am a speaker coach. I have a speaker academy, and I discovered that from me not being able to speak to being able to then go and stand on the TEDx stage. I was literally so shy. I stuttered, I stammered, I did it all in one breath. I was ready to fall over by the time I finished talking. And so I went from that, what I call Debbie from Swindon Imposter, to being on a TEDx. So what I love to do is to get somebody's story out of them. So their understanding of why they do what they do. So, for example, if I ask someone their story, they tell me about their business, right? I don't mean that. I mean, what's the one thing that made you decide that you have to be an entrepreneur, that you have to do this one business, that passion and that kind of sliding doors trigger moment that made you go, no, I can't stay with the day job. I can't stay with these paid holidays and paid lunch breaks and I don't give a monkey's day and still get paid for it. And I'm going to go out here in the wild and try and do something for myself. And I try to find that story in somebody, because I believe that if you are telling your story ethically, you can stand on the stage and people will be attracted to you. You don't have to go and sell to people. It's all about being the honey and not being the bee. If you're the true, authentic honey, then the bees will find you. So I have a website where you can book a call with me, or there's a TEDx cheat sheet on there as well, which is debbiebryan.com. If you want to book me as a speaker, it's debbiebryancoach.co.uk.
Okay. I'll put I'll be putting the links in the description, and so people can find it even more easily. And Joseph, how about you? I mean, I know what you do, and regular viewers know what you do, but what about the person who's just come on to wants to find out what it is you do?
Yeah, for those who have not seen me on Not Quite After Midnight before, and to catch those up who may have, I am Joseph M. Lenard, as Bill alluded to at the top, not Joseph Lenard, who is also an author. I have josephmlenard.us. It's Lenard. It's not Lenard. It looks French. It's Lenard without an O. So josephmlenard.us. And I've just dropped my 4th and 5th internationally available books. 4th, May 1st, was Podcasting Quick Start Guide for those who think they might want to try their hand at this very crowded media. How you can start off low key, low budget, slow, see how it goes, and then if it goes well, add the more expensive things to grow your show and, be more high end. And my 5th international book, Constitutionalist Politics 2, to go with my Constitutionalist Politics podcast show. So that's kind of what I've been up to lately. But yeah, josephmlenard.us, the easiest place to find me. Constitutionalist Politics on 20 plus audio platforms, 5 different video platforms at J. Leonard Detroit channels. Although I don't understand why, really. I think we're such a visual society now, but yet I'm on 20 plus audio platforms, but I get very few views of my behind the scene video drops, and people watch movies on the small screen, but yet they'd rather listen to a podcast than watch it. So, whatever, but I'm out there everywhere for whatever floats your boat. Written form, audio form, or video form.
Great. Okay. Well, see, we've is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Because we've been at this for almost an hour now. And
no, I mean, Joseph, you're everywhere. And just to answer your question, I listen to a podcast in the car. So I never watch the scenery. So you may find that that's what.
Yeah.
I'm still fairly focused on the roads. And so how I cured it was to listen to a podcast. So I listened to something that's like an hour, like this one, or someone like Stephen Bartlett. I don't know if you use it. So it's an hour and a half. So I get lost in the podcast. So when I'm driving, I'm still focused on the traffic, but I'm not in fear. I'm not hypersensitive or hyper aware. So maybe you have a lot of audience that do the same. Listen to a podcast as they're doing something.
I have a neighbor, her father indeed does. I'm on disability, so I don't have a daily commute. But for those who do, absolutely, that's why I try to keep my shows right around 30 minutes to fit somebody's 30-minute commute, or if you've got more of a commute, you can listen to more than one of my episodes, right? But yeah, a lot of people do that. I used to listen to talk radio to and from work. I had an hour commute, the last commute. So yeah, podcasts now allow you to pick your own subject matter as opposed to whatever the talk radio hosts are talking about that day. So
Yeah, see,
pod,
that's what a podcast has done for me. It's put me off the radio. I'm just like, I can't stand to listen to these people. So I like to listen to like something that's being interviewed. I did try true crime. I tried listening to some like murders and serial killer stuff. And then I travel and stay in hotels quite a lot. And one time I listened to a serial killer that hadn't been caught for like 10 years. And they caught him looking through windows of like girls' bedrooms. And when I got to my hotel, it was baking in the room, and they give me a ground floor room. And I was like, I can't open the window. What if there's one of them out there? So I had to go back to something a little bit more entertaining than the true crime.
but
It's frightening myself to death.
but yeah, there's subject matter in podcasts for anything and everything you're looking for. So that's why podcasts do so well these days. And in fact, I've got an email from a true crime show to have me on to talk about my Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You book, because it's sort of terrorism is a true crime that's still ongoing.
Yeah. So, Bill, I've got a great guest for you. He's lined up for October. So I have the boy next door millionaire who actually sat upstairs. I was almost going to bring him in, but he's one of my coaching clients, and so I don't want to podcast with him because we're too familiar with each other, and you wouldn't get the best of it. So he's coming up in October, and I can find you podcast guests on this. I'm very well connected in like the networks and stuff over here. So this has been absolutely a joy to talk to you two.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Before we go, do you two have any final words for the nice people?
I'm glad.
So my final word, I was going to say, my final word is I think everyone's entitled to a big life. I'm absolutely having a big life, and I would love it if everyone else just took another look at their life and was like, do I want a big life too? Because you can have it.
Yeah. My final words are, and Bill probably knows this is coming. Since Debbie said she enjoyed herself, I'm glad somebody enjoyed themselves, because whenever I'm on with Bill, it's like pulling teeth. It's just a joke, people. Just a loving jab at my friend Bill. He knows I'm just teasing him.
Yep.
Well, I think we've had a little bit of a wild wander, haven't we, really? We've had a bit of I don't know quite where we've gone with this podcast today. And I think that's the magic of podcasting, the magic of bringing three people in the room. I still, so you're a lion and you're going to be a dog, Bill. I'm not sure that you're going to settle on that, but do tell me when you do. I'll see you on the other side when I'm a flamingo.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I like Bill. I like Bill's format. It's kind of like, since you're in the UK, I know you would know Graham Norton. Right, it's kind of like the Graham Norton couch style. It's a much better late night show format. His is the only late night show I watch, because it's and indeed I borrow from Graham on my show, the Constitutionalist Politics Podcast. My intro says, as Graham Norton says, let's get on with the show. He doesn't say that anymore, though. But
love it. I'm on a radio show on a Wednesday morning. We call it Girls About Town, and there's a show here called The Loose Women, and it's like a panel of women. People come on, and it's just like a mad coffee morning, and we do that on the radio. Before they used to do it, we've been doing that on the radio show, and we have different guests in. But the radio show is a community, so they've not really got the gist of like getting people on the Zoom. Otherwise, I'd love to have you two guys on that, but. Yeah, so I've absolutely enjoyed it. I'm going to get kicked out of the studio any minute because they are recording after me.
Okay.
So I might have to lovingly leave you.
Yeah, I've only had a couple people. I've only had a couple people together. I'm sorry, Bill. Yeah, I've only had a couple people together on my show. Usually I just do one guest at a time myself, but it's easier to control.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this is definitely not easy to control. Herding cats, as it were. But thank you both for being on the show. And it's been real fun. Hopefully people got to know you a little in a little different way than what they do on other podcasts. And, to all of you out there, remember to wash your hands and stay tuned for the ending credits. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a presentation of Bald Spots Productions. I'd like to thank our producer, my beloved mother, Eileen Hatch. I, of course, am your humble host. I'd also like to thank my special guests, Joseph Lenard of the Christitutionalist podcast and other great projects, and Debbie Bryan. Be sure to check out her TEDx talk. Support the show if you feel so led over on patreon.com. We're known as Bald Spots Pro. Don't you dare miss YWL Online. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are offered. Be sure to tune in next time when my special guest will be Lisa Smith, who helps people change their habits and improve their performance without relying on willpower, and Dr. Jeffrey Scales, a dermatologist of 20 years who is really concerned about proper skincare. And I know I can use some help on that. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Subscribe, follow, whatever it is you've got to do to kick that algorithm into gear and help us reach more people. If you or someone you know needs support now, call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. That is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline here in the United States.